Right, welcome back to Rickets Reef 140 build update. This update's going to have a whole bunch of stuff in it, and so it'll probably have some spin-offs that are particular to a topic in it, just for more detail. It's just, if I were to go into full detail on everything I'm about to talk about, it's probably going to be like a 2-hour video, and ain't nobody got time for that. So, got a sump. This was like a cheap and dirty $30 Kijiji Craigslist thing. This tank's like 15 years old. It was first in a local fish shop as one of their display tanks to sell fish. They had a huge wall with a whole bunch of these, and then when he shut down shop or moved shop, they sold them all for cheap. Some guy bought them, I think another guy bought them, and now I got one. So the silicone in the seals is actually bang on, it's fine, but I spent a week basically scraping and cleaning this thing, and like even these hard water stains I couldn't get off. I used everything that everyone recommended, but so I'm like, it's a sump, eventually it will be probably torn down and built into something else. But yeah, it had some weird half brace, and then it had an overflow, and the brace had holes in it, or a hole, and so I'm going to put a piece of glass over that hole when I reseal the inside, and then I'll be putting the baffles in, which I've got a couple cut here. I'm terrible at cutting glass, apparently. I thought I was better than I am, but I'm not. I don't know. When I cut along a straight edge, I don't get a good score, and when I do it freehand, I get a great score. So the problem is with the freehand, it's not very reliable, because you never know at any given time it could just like jut out from you, and you're like, oh geez, that just screwed up, and then you ruin the whole piece. And when I do it with a straight edge, I don't get a very good score. So if anyone has tips, please let me know. But essentially, I got, some guy was selling some old greenhouse windows, or not selling, giving away on Kijiji, just wanted them out of his backyard. I think his dad was a bit of a hoarder. So I showed up, and I was worried. I thought they were going to be laminated, but it wasn't. It was big old sheets, 51 inches by 108 inches. So I just took the glass cutter and and broke it and threw it in the back of my van, and now I've got 14 pieces of the stuff. So I'm going to make baffles. If I get better at cutting glass, I'm going to make some QT tanks and the frag tank. So that's what's happening with the sump, and kind of some future build out tanks, which is kind of cool. Let's go inside and see what's going on there. And now for the electrics. So the way I'm doing things is, it probably seems kind of strange, but there is a method to my madness. I don't get very much time to work on the stuff and get it built. So what I do is, like when the paint is drying on the stand, I'll do some electrics. While I'm waiting for a piece to come in for the electrics, say from the internet, I will work on the sump or the stand. So I'm gradually doing a little bit of everything, so that hopefully, the way I'm hoping, it's all going to come together maybe end of September, worst case maybe end of October, to where I'm filling a tank. I'm very close, very close to assembling everything and start going. The other thing is money. I just don't have a lot of money for this. We don't have a lot of disposable income, kids and daycare and all sorts of stuff. You know how it is, being an all-day wage slave. So I'm trying to do things in a way that gets me to a really cool tank, with the mix of DIY as I do. Part of that is the controller, the Reef Pi controller, as with my other videos. So this is kind of version 2 of the brain box. I didn't like the connections and the cords. They weren't very sturdy and functional, so I've added these new kind of airplane cords. I think they're called Air Force cords or something like that. They're pretty awesome. They're just a little tedious to build. And in here will be the Reef Pi and the connection board. There'll be a detailed video on version 2 later on. This is for 7 float switches. And everything's on quick connects, so I can disconnect, reconnect, and replace things super easy. This is going to be for temperature, and these are the 2 power bars, and then pH and maybe something else over there, and then I can always put more stuff coming out wherever I can fit it. So that's the Reef Pi box. These are the drivers for my coverage LEDs. These are 32 volt 700 mA drivers. So I could run 10 3-watt LEDs on these. I'm doing 8 just because it'll be more stable in the long run. That's the power supply that runs them. This is a 660 watt power supply, so I can run a lot of LEDs on that sucker. It does have a bit of a noisy fan, which I don't like. So it's not your high-end power supply, and I don't know when you start putting that many watts on a power supply that you can get away from no fan. So anyway, it'll be a side of the tank where the noise won't be too bad. So today I tinned up my pads. I installed the DuPont connectors there for the PWM dimming. The dimmer, the 16 channel dimmer controller is right here. So the Reef Pi, there's going to be a separate Reef Pi just for the lights. The Reef Pi will control these 16 channels. I'm only doing 6 channels, but here are the panels. So I built these panels over here. Now there are 12 bars of 8 LEDs, but there's channel groups within the 12. So there's 5 blue/royal blue bars. There is 2 purple/30K bars. There's a red and warm white bar. There is a green and cyan bar. There is a 20K and 30K bar. And then there's a 10K bar. So the way it works out is there's about 5 or 6 groupings, and they are all controlled in terms of timers and dimmers through the Reef Pi software on the Raspberry Pi. And they have quick connects there. Also, all the LEDs are on quick connects. So if for whatever reason down the road one of the LEDs dies, I can just pop it out, put a new one in. Or if I don't like the colors, I want to change the colors, I can just quickly unscrew. If you can see there, they're done by screws, and then change the LED configuration. Pretty simple. I've got these nylon standoffs, so I'm going to get a splash guard on there. Just gotta buy it, and those will hang as what I call coverage LEDs, and I'll explain the reason why they're called that in a second. All right, let's talk about what's going on here. So here we've got the tank stand. I painted it up for the most part, with the exception of a few things there. So if you see on the top here, I've got 2 2x4s. They're going to go on either side of the actuator there as braces and supports for the main part of the tank on the back. And that 2x6 with the notches out of it is going to kind of go in between there. That will do 2 things. It'll be removable. It'll be a brace just for surety's sake. And when the cupboard door is closed, there's going to be a line between them. So to stop any light creep, they will close against that kind of middle brace thing. The other thing I'm just putting together now is the kind of equipment plates that'll be going on here. And so those will hold the controllers for the return pumps, the skimmer, because they all have these little DC controllers now, which is kind of cool. So they'll be on there. So if I ever need to turn them off or whatever, I'll be able just to open up there's going to be a ledge around the outside. I'll be able to open them up and just tap, tap, tap. They'll be easily accessed there that way. I'm going to go, I think on Monday, and get the plywood to skin up the side, make the cupboard doors, put the hinges on them, start painting them. So after those, the flaps, the doors, the side, after that plywood is all applied and painted, that's pretty much it for the stand, which is
pretty awesome. Like I said, I don't get much time, so I get maybe like an hour or two a day to actually work on this stuff. So, you know, it took me a couple weeks to get this thing painted. It's just kind of how things are right now. I do have to silicone around the bottom, and then I'm going to actually drill a hole in that little lip there, so if water does ever get to this like pan area, it will drain out that area down there. The tank. Oh yeah, the tank. I knew there was something I was forgetting. I ordered a tank. So I went to, there's a local fish store where a guy builds tanks. He's a well-known, renowned, long-time tank builder in this city. And he's the one that actually made my last one, the 90-gallon from my old videos. I went there back in the day and I said to him, look, I'm moving from a nano to a bigger tank, something around the 90-gallon, 4-foot range. What do you got? And we went into his basement and he had like an aquarium homemade tank graveyard. There was hundreds of them in the basement of his store. And he was just like, look around, see what you like. And I was like, well, that one. And that was the tank you saw in my old videos. But this time I'm getting him to make me one from scratch because it's very particular. It's 60 inches by 24 inches. Instead of 24, I'm now going 22 tall. So it's a little shorter, just for strength and stuff. It's going to be Euro braced. And I'm going bare bottom. And he's allowing me, I don't work far from his shop, so during lunch when he's done building the tank, I can go in and paint the back, sides, and bottom. I'll probably do them all black. I was going to do the bottom white, but I think I'll just do it black because eventually it's going to be covered in corals and coralline and stuff anyway, so I'm just going to do it all black. And then I'm only doing holes on this side. I was going to do a return hole over here, but I'm just going to go over the top because if I ever move or sell it or something like that, I always like to future proof. Then I can actually be a pure peninsula tank. Like this is a faux peninsula or something, but then I can actually put it against a wall if I ever wanted or needed to in like 10-20 years if I wanted to change the configuration. So that's exciting. Tank is coming. Sump is being built. I got most of the equipment. The only thing I really have left to get, besides like a calcium reactor and stuff down the road, would be power heads, some more heaters, a few other things, and then a filter roller is something I'm going to want down the road. But those are things that'll come gradually as I have money. I just don't have a lot of money to buy everything all at once. I'm going to have to do some makeshift stuff until then. Like I would love to buy a Neptune Apex out of the box and not have to build a DIY controller, but I just don't have money for that. And the DIY controller is fun, so it's a win-win. But at the same time, there is a part of me that would be like, oh, I'd love to just buy a Neptune Apex, but at the price they are and at my budget, I can't do it. Lights, the light panels will be going, one will be going on this side, and then one will be going on that side. And then hanging from this bar will be so those are the coverage lights, and hanging from the bar will be the growing lights. So my original plan was to get some Kessels, some like, I don't know, some 130s or some AI primes or something cheap, like a couple of them. And then I was thinking combined with the 288 watts of my LED panels, that would be a good sufficient amount of light. But, so brace yourself here. I got to brace myself every time I think about this. It's kind of surreal. Whew. Change of plans. Let's take a look here. So that there is a Radeon XR30W Pro. I won this from reefsupplies.ca. Yeah. I never win anything. I think the last thing I won was some Twinkies and some caramel cakes when I was a kid at a local fair, which wasn't good because I was a fat kid, so that didn't help at all. and I won like lots of them. But most of the stuff in my life, when I've ever won something, it was because of a competition. So I've had to put in a lot of effort. I've won lots of sports stuff. I've won science fairs. I was valedictorian in one school, but all that was effort based. Never have I won like a draw or a raffle or something like that. And this I did. So if you remember from my previous video, I had where I was talking about an order with the skimmer and socks and a bunch of other stuff that I got. During that order on reefsupplies.ca, they had, you could buy a $10 entry to the Children's Wish Foundation, and then they were giving the winner a Radeon XR30 Pro, and I won. So yeah, they called me the other day and they said, you won. And it took me a while for it to, like, I didn't even believe it was real until I actually saw the box and picked it up last night. And I was just like freaking out. I was on my office floor, like spinning around like Homer Simpson. Woo, 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 woo. Super good day. Came at a really good time because I was kind of, I was discouraged lately because of a lot of stuff, and this thing has just picked me right up. So that's awesome. Thank you, reefsupplies.ca, if you're watching. Yeah, I never expected to put something like this on my tank because, it's for my budget. It's something that you look at on the website and you're like, wow, that's awesome, but never going to happen kind of thing, right? Like, it's just, you look at it, it's kind of like the white whale. You're looking at the Cadillac when all you can afford is the Corolla. So this is fantastic. I haven't even opened the box yet. I will do a specific unboxing overview and then a review of it down the road. But that is going to hang from that bar up there. And I suppose eventually I'll probably, depending on how things work out, I'll probably end up having to save and buy for another one. Or something else to kind of fill in the sides, or depending on how I orient the corals and the rock work and how I use that, because I think they cover 24 by 24, maybe even a little more. So because I will be hanging it a good distance away, so I'll get some good spread. So yeah, that's awesome. It was a good day. Kids being born, probably the best day. Winning this. Getting married, getting my eyesight back after a year of being blind. So those were all good days. This is up there. This is right there. This is at the top. So that's pretty cool. And I'll let you know how it works out. Okay, later.